Okay, let's chat about what SkySlope is and why you would want to use it. So SkySlope is a forms provider. So the comparison I can give you, it is just like Zip Forms. It is a forms provider that is going to allow you to edit, create forms in it, and then it's going to have a companion piece with it that handles electronic signatures. So why in the world do we need an alternative? I'll explain it to you. For years, and Miki's saying she can't see anything. Can everybody else see me? Everything else working okay? Somebody give me a thumbs up if you can see the screen.
We can see you.
Okay, awesome. Thanks, guys. Thanks, little dude. Okay, so National Association of Realtors for years had a deal with Zip Forms, and they were providing Zip Forms to us for a reduced rate, and National Association of Realtors was picking up the tab for the rest. So it wasn't really free. It was paid through your membership dues as a member benefit. Now, late last year, Zip Forms got sold to Lone Wolf, which is a Canadian company, and Lone Wolf decided that they were no longer going to be offering the Zip Forms discount to the National Association of Realtors. So around November last year, when the Virginia Association of Realtors realized that many of their realtors across the state were going to be losing access to a forms provider, they went ahead, VAR created a contract and a deal with SkySlope and signed a contract with SkySlope to provide the forms, the Virginia Association of Realtors forms, to all of the Virginia realtors across the state before they lost access to Zip Forms on December 31st last year. So as of January 1st, all of the realtors across the state who had been using Zip Forms, who were no longer going to be being provided Zip Forms from their local association or from their broker, transitioned over to SkySlope. So Virginia Association of Realtors licensed all of their forms to SkySlope, so they're all already there. Now, in the infinite wisdom of the Roanoke Valley Association of Realtors, they had already done their own contract with Zip Forms some time ago as an overlap contract to make sure we were never without our forms provider. So we actually still have that for about another 2 years. So there's really no reason to hustle and transition over to SkySlope, except for one major benefit, which I'll share with you. But RVAR, the reason why I took this long to train you guys on it was because RVAR wanted to do it right, and they wanted to license their forms to SkySlope. So now the board of directors has licensed the forms to SkySlope. So now you will find all of the RVAR forms and all of the VAR forms housed over at SkySlope. So now I'm ready for you guys to transition over if you wish, because part of the SkySlope package is Digisign, which is an electronic signature software package that comes to you at no cost because it is also a member benefit. So you would no longer have to be purchasing an electronic signature software package. Instead, it's going to come built into the SkySlope package. So let's hop on and just try out making a fake package. So we're going to do a purchase offer today. So I'm going to share my screen. And if you have not created your account with SkySlope, you're going to just go to.
You wonder how much of the phone he was using yesterday.
None, but I'm just saying.
Hold on. Let me see who I need to mute. Give me 1 second. Hang on. Sorry, y'all. Or if you haven't muted yourself, if you would mute yourself, that would be great. So what we're going to do is go to the link I put in the email for you and go to VAR's sign-on link. And when you go there, you're going to sign up for SkySlope. It's going to bring you here, and you're going to use your NERDS number, your National Association of Realtors number. The reason why you're using that is then it knows not to charge you for SkySlope, and it also knows what association forms you should have access to. So I've already registered with SkySlope, so I'm going to go to the login button for forms, and I'm going to log in. Here we go. and it's going to take me to the dashboard. So when I go to the dashboard, you're going to see my previous envelopes that I've made, my transaction files, but we're going to create a new one. So the first thing I want to do is I want to go over to MLS, and I want to find a property that we're going to make an offer on. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to download the disclosure forms, and I'm going to write down the MLS number, and I'll tell you why in a minute. So we're going to go ahead and use this very first search result. So we're going to do an offer on 2301 Rosalind Avenue in Southwest. What a cutie house. I'm going to go over here and I'm going to click the Documents tab. And I'm going to go ahead and download the residential property disclosure form and the lead-based paint disclosure form. Now, just a quick little tip in case you don't know how to do this, I'm going to checkbox the one I want to download, and I'm going to click this button for View, Print the checked documents. And then I'm actually going to tell it to print it. So the reason why I'm printing it is I'm not going to print it to a specific printer. Instead of an actual physical printer, I'm going to switch my printer name to Microsoft Print PDF. And when I do that, I can click print and it's going to say, oh, you want to save this as a PDF. I tell it what folder to put it in. And then I'm going to call it maybe Rosalind Disclosures. And I'm going to save it. Now that is saved on my hard drive, and I can use it when I go to upload it to SkySlope. So now that I have got my MLS number pulled up, I've got my disclosure forms downloaded, I'm going to go back over to SkySlope, and I'm going to create a new file. But the first time I ever log into SkySlope, before you create a file, now sometimes you just got to hop on and create a file because you got to get the offer in. But I would love it if you would go ahead and sign on and go to this top tab that has your name and go to your user profile settings and go ahead and fill this all the way out. The reason why you're filling this out is so that it will auto-populate onto those forms for you. So I have a long name. I'm tired of typing that long name. We've got a long firm name. So if you can fill this out on your user profile page, listen, y'all, I've spent my whole life writing Wainwright too. It's long. So you're going to fill all this out. You're going to click save. And then it's going to auto-populate that information for you. So now I'm ready to go back to my dashboard. I do that by going to this icon in the upper left-hand corner. I can just click on that logo for SkySlope and I'm back to the dashboard. So now I'm ready to create my new file. I'm going to click create new file. And the reason why I find this platform so user-friendly is it asks me questions. It walks me through the process. So who is the client? My client is the buyer. And I'm going to put in my buyer's name, Beatrice Buyer. Okay. And I'm going to put in her email address. Now, by doing this now, when I go to the Digisign part of this transaction, it's going to automatically know where I'm trying to send the package for Beatrice to sign it. Okay. Now I want to show you a really cool feature. I can add other buyers here, but what's really cool is you've all had those listings or those purchase offers for an LLC or an estate, and you're having to make first name, the estate of, and last name, Mary McCullough. That is funky. It's hard to get it to fit right. It doesn't always display correctly. So you can click this box now and say that the client is a company, trust, or other entity. And I can put in the organization name. So let's say that it's an LLC who's going to make an offer on this property. And the LLC name goes on that line. And then I say, okay, here is the representative of that LLC. That's the signer for the LLC. And I can go ahead and put in the signer's email address. Now it's going to display the name correctly over the River LLC, but the signature line is going to say Chip Donahue. Okay. Or it's going to say over the River LLC, Chip Donahue, and then he can sign that. So that is going to make that display work correctly, and it's going to fit it into the form properly. Now, another really cool thing you can do here is you can add multiple additional contacts, and it's smart enough to know that maybe it's Over the River LLC and another like party that isn't an LLC, or maybe it is another LLC for whatever reason, but it's going to let you customize each of these either seller or buyer fields to be either an LLC, company, or trust, or just a human with a first name and a last name. Now, I can also remove this party. I can add multiple buyers. More importantly, when you're doing a listing for 5 siblings, you're going to actually be able to fit them all on there, okay? And you're not going to have to make, first name, one sibling, last name, another sibling, and hope everything displays correctly. So now this is going to function much more easily. So we're going to go back to our single buyer. We've got Beatrice buyer. Her email address is going to go right in here. And now this is the cool part. Is there a property yet? What it means is there a property on the MLS yet? Now, if I were filling out a new listing package, I would not be clicking this button because it's not on the MLS yet, but I'm making an offer and this property is on the MLS. So I'm going to click import MLS data and I'm going to type in the MLS number. Now you see that there are going to be multiple search results. And that is because this is searching across the entire United States. And there are some MLSs across the United States who have the same MLS numbers as we do. So it hit with 3 search results. I'm going to choose the one that is the one I'm looking for, which is this cute one on Rosalind, okay? And I'm going to click the button for import. And you'll see that it goes ahead and imports that address information into my transaction page. It also goes ahead and names it. Now, I could very quickly say, no, I want to name it by the client name. And I can just toggle from address as the file name to client as the file name. Now, if you're weird like me, I like to have them both. So I'm just going to go ahead and fill that in myself, okay? And then I'm going to say create. So now I have created, no thank you, I don't want to save the address. And it's saying, let's get this file going. What do you want to do first? Do you want to upload documents? Do you want to add forms? Now, I'll be teaching on templates in our next session. So today, we're just going to do this from scratch. We're going to upload those disclosure forms that we downloaded from the MLS, and we're going to add the forms that we'd like to add into the offer package. So the first thing I'm going to do, there's no right or wrong way to do this here. You can add the forms, then upload the documents, whatever you want to do. I'm going to upload those disclosure forms that we downloaded. So here it is, the Rosalind disclosures. There they are. I'm going to click add. If I needed to upload another, I could. I don't have another one to upload. They were all in one file. But sometimes you'll see lead-based paint as a form is an upload. Residential property disclosure is an upload. Residential septic system disclosure is an upload. So you could go on and upload as many forms as you have here. I'm going to click done because I'm done. And now I'm going to add forms. So when I click add forms, it's going to default to all libraries, which includes Roanoke Valley and Virginia Association of Realtors forms. I would like to only look in the Roanoke Valley Association of Realtors forms. So I'm going to go ahead and switch from all libraries down to RVAR forms. So now I can either go to this search forms field and I can start typing purchase agreement and find my form, or if I want to, I can just scroll down to the P's and find purchase agreement. Now, if I click on the name on the left, it's going to give me a preview of the form. So here's a preview of the form. It is not fillable. This is just a preview. I could download it or print it from here. Like maybe I was just looking to download or print a blank copy. I could do that here. But if I go over to the right and I click the add button, I have now added the purchase agreement to my envelope. Now, let's say I also need to add a standard clauses addendum because maybe this is going to be an FHA loan. Okay. And I need to get to that FHA amendatory section on the standard clauses addendum. But what if I said, oh yeah, I need residential septic system disclosure statement. And then I go, oops, no, it's not a septic system. I can just click again to remove it and it's gone. Okay. If I look down here on the bottom right, I see I have 2 forms added. I can click the button for view to see what I have in there. Or if I am satisfied that I have added all the forms I need to add, I'm now going to click next. So I'm going to click the blue next button. And here are all of my forms. I've got the Rosalind disclosure, I've got the purchase agreement, and I have the standard clauses addendum. Now, this may be the moment, and I know this would never be any of y'all because surely you have already executed that exclusive right to represent buyer form. But if you have not already executed that, now is the time to add that form in here and go ahead and get that form completed and signed before you make your offer, okay? So go ahead and have that already done. Now, I'm ready to go ahead and fill out these 3 forms and get them over to my client for a review. So I'm going to select with this little bubble in the upper left-hand corner of each one of these forms. I'm going to select all 3 forms. And you see I have some options now pop up. I can either print them, I can download them, or I can fill them out and send them. Now, you also see that if you have a, oh no moment, and you realize that you forgot to get the disclosure forms off the MLS, or you forgot to add a form, you can go right here. You can still add a form. You can go right here and still upload a document. So there really is no spot where you're stuck and you have to start over from scratch. You can add those forms at any point. So I'm going to go ahead and say fill and send. So I am ready to go ahead and fill and send those 3 forms. Now you'll see it went ahead and brought them all over, but I don't want to start with the disclosure form. So I'm going to go over to the left and I'm going to go over to this little hamburger stack by each form. And I'm going to hover over that until it turns into that 4-prong arrow. That's going to allow me to click and drag those forms and reorder them to the order that is most appealing to me. So I'm going to go purchase agreement, then standard clauses addendum, then the disclosure forms. This is a personal preference. It doesn't matter. My personal preference is purchase agreement, then any addenda, then the disclosure forms. Okay. So a major difference between zip forms and SkySlope is that SkySlope uses an overmapping technique in programming. So what they've done is they have taken our form as it has come from our VAR and they have mapped over top of it all of these fields. Now I've only found one omission so far, and I'll be turning that in for them to add it, but you'll see that when we get to it. But you see that every single one of the fields that needs to be filled out is already mapped with one of these blue spaces. We're going to go in here and fill out our form now. So we're going to say purchase offer dated today, and I'm going to hit the tab button on my keyboard to get to the next field. And it's saying, who is the seller? So I'm going to say Sally seller is selling this house. I am not, as the buyer's agent, I am not filling out any more of this information. I don't know the seller. I'm never going to send anything to the seller to sign. I'm not going to have the seller's email address. So all I'm filling out here is the seller's name. I'm also going to keep this defaulted to no action because I will not be requiring the seller on the other side of the transaction to do anything. I'm not sending her documents. I'm not asking for her signature. Obviously, that would be inappropriate because she's not my client. So I just leave that toggled to no action. Now, again, you could click this box and put in an LLC or a trust or an estate, or, and this is thrilling to me, if there are 5 siblings selling this house, 7 siblings selling this house, you just keep clicking add another and keep adding those siblings in there, okay? And they're going to all cram in on that line. When I'm satisfied that I have filled out all of my seller names, I'm going to click save, and you'll see that she plugs in there. Beatrice Buyer is good. If I had not put her email address in earlier, I could do it now. You see she's toggled to needs to sign because it already knows I'm creating this document for my client, Beatrice Buyer. So I'm going to go ahead and say City of Roanoke. I'm going to keep filling this out. Now, that's interesting. When we did it earlier today, because I did the MLS import, it had already filled out the agent's name here. I'm curious why it didn't fill out this agent's name. I'm gonna go back and look and see who the agent is. My bar here is blogging it. So it's Joe Kraft. I'm not sure why it's not filling it in. When we did it this morning, this would have already been filled out. Now, obviously, I can go in here and I can fill this out. Okay, so I would fill all that out. I'd fill out his firm name, and then I'm going to check the boxes for which parties are representing which clients. And I'm going to keep going down here and say I have a standard clauses addendum. I certainly could fill in these blanks and add other forms. I'm going to have a residential property disclosure form, maybe a lead-based paint form. Keep going down, and let's just pretend we filled this all out. I do want to show you one more feature. When you go into any of the text boxes where you can put in additional terms, you can click in there and just type in your additional terms that you wish to put on those lines. So I could say something like purchaser, if I could type this morning, purchaser may change lender, but may not change terms of financing. Whatever it is that I maybe need to put in here, maybe they're asking for closing costs. There is a button here for add clauses, and that is the way you're going to access clauses and insert those into those additional terms sections. Now, I'm working on getting my broker clauses in here. So certainly, hopefully soon, when you hit this drop-down menu for all sources, Wainwright clauses or broker clauses will be one of the options here. And then you'll be able to insert that closing cost clause in there easily. But in this case, let's just say, let's make up some language there. So I'm putting that in there. So you see it inserted it. We're going to go on down and I am going to show you, pretend we've filled all this out. Here's the additional terms section. The same thing would apply. You can type this in here, or you can click add clauses and insert a clause. We're going to keep going. And once we get to the end of that form, we're going to immediately start on the next form. We're going to fill that out. Now, one glitch I have found is you see it has auto-populated into the consummation field our address. Well, we're not doing a consummation clause. I appreciate that the smart computer brain knows that if we were doing a consummation clause, that we would be doing it on our property. Oof, that is a glitch, isn't it? I'm trying to report all these as I come across them. Let me make a note real quick. Because it doesn't want to let me take that out of there. Well, I'm certainly not going to check the box for consummation, but I will figure that out for y'all as to how we can get that removed. Well, it doesn't want to go. And those are going to be required fields. Interesting. Okay, they'll have to fix that spot. I'll talk to them about that. Okay. We're going to get all the way down through here. Pretend we've filled all that out, signed all that. This, obviously, we can't fill it out or put anything there until we're ready to sign. So I can either save and exit, okay? And I may want to do that because I'm not quite ready to send it off for its electronic signature yet. What I am going to be doing, because this is my best business practice, when I get to this point, it's fully filled out. I have not sent it for electronic signatures yet. I'm going to download it or print it to a PDF. And I'm going to email it as a PDF to my clients. And I'm going to say, hey, y'all, Here is a PDF of the offer we're about to go over on the phone. When you get it, look it over, give me a call, and let's see what questions you may have before I send it to you for your electronic signatures. I want you to think of the value that the electronic signature software part of this brings to you by saving you time. And I want you to take that time and I want you to dedicate it to being on the phone with your client, going over the offer, okay? The electronic signature software is to save you time driving to their house. It is not to save you time explaining the documents to them and what they're going to be signing. Does that make sense? All right, so I'm going to always be downloading this as a PDF, sending it to my clients, getting them on the phone, going over it with them, and then making sure they fully understand everything they're going to be signing. And when they say, we're good to go, let's sign it, I'm going to say, prepare signature. And it's going to say, okay, let's just make sure all these people are correct. This is where I have an opportunity to go, oh, you know what? I forgot that the buyer's agent's signature is required on the standard clauses addendum. Let me switch myself from no action to needs to sign. And I'm going to say next. And now I am creating a Digisign e-signature envelope. Eventually. Okay, so here you see our form. Now, what is exciting is if you forgot something, you don't have to go back from scratch. You can add it with a text field or a checkbox, okay? So you can get back in here using the Digisign features. Maybe you forgot to check one box. Maybe you forgot to write in the settlement company's name, okay? You can do that through the Digisign part of it, okay? So you see now when I went in there and messed around with that consummation clause, I've now messed up my address on the entire series of documents. So that is a major flaw. I will point that out, that it should not be auto-populating to the consummation clause, because when you try to get it out of the consummation clause, it's going to mess it up everywhere else, okay? So that's the kind of mapping information they're looking for. So I will be telling them that. The other one that I noticed today is that it does not auto-populate a signature line here on the purchaser line. Now, when we get further down, you'll see that it does on like the real signing page. So it should be doing it here. So I've made a note of that as well, but it's no problem. You'll see over here on the left, I am toggled to Beatrice Buyer. I'm going to click on signature and I'm going to go here and I'm going to click and hold and draw a little signature box for her. Then I'm going to go to date and I'm going to draw a date box for her. Easy peasy. Now, if I messed that up and maybe I was toggled to me instead, you can just click on it again and you can delete it. Now, I'm going to go on down and we're going to put some more signatures on this thing. Let's go down to the signature line. And you'll see it already auto-populated that for me because it knows that's where a signature goes. Now, if this is a counter offer you're doing and you uploaded it as a PDF, it's not going to know where to put things. You're going to have to manually put them on there. But this is originating out of SkySlope, so it knows where you should be initialing and where you should be signing. So we're going to go down here and you're going to see it's automatically auto-populated signature spots for Beatrice Buyer and for me, the agent. Then we're going to go on down here, and because this is a PDF, because it doesn't know where to put it on here, we have to manually put it on there. So we're going to go ahead and make sure we're at Beatrice Buyer, click signature, draw her a signature line there. We are going to go to date. And let's say I accidentally made it too big. I can grab this little corner piece and I can make it smaller. You can resize it by grabbing a corner and clicking and holding and pulling till you have it the size you want it. So now I'm finished. I would either save and exit if I'm not prepared to send it, or I would click send, and it's going to go ahead and send it out for electronic signatures. Now, I am going to stop for a moment and see who has questions. Anybody have any questions?
Jennifer does.
Great. Jennifer. what
Okay,
you got?
so the consummation clause, should we just leave the address in there so it doesn't mess up the rest of the document and maybe strike through the whole paragraph?
I think for now, that's what you probably need to do. I think for now, you need to leave it in there. And then when you get to this Digisign part, you strike through either the address on that line or the whole thing. Yeah,
Okay.
kind of annoying. Sorry about that. But I'm glad we discovered it. Nothing like discovering it live, you know? And then Miki had asked if the Wainwright forms are going to be there. Yes. SkySlope is in communications with each of the brokers to find out if they want to opt to put their broker forms on there, but then there'll be a period of time where they have to be mapped properly and make sure they're available. Now, if you don't want to wait around for that, the Wainwright forms are available still in zip forms, and I actually have them on the shared Google Drive as PDFs. You can upload them like a PDF, like we just did with those disclosure forms. So you certainly could use them that way. Most of our forms are not very laborious anyway. They're just a couple of check boxes and a couple of signatures, and maybe a couple of fields to fill in if you're terminating a listing, or let's say you're making an MLS authorization to change the purchase price, maybe an MLS change. They really are not a lot of spots to fill in. So it wouldn't be too much trouble to upload it as a PDF and just use it in the Digisign part. Good question, Miki. Anybody else have any questions about this so far? Okay,